Alright, today I just finished this look. It is an all drugstore makeup look. Overall, I'm really happy with how it turned out, and a lot of these were first impressions of products and then some old favorites as well. So overall, really happy. But if you want to keep watching to see my thoughts on each product, I do have some feedback for some of the products as well, and this might help you decide exactly what you do want to purchase yourself. Or that you might just be interested in skipping. But if you could, please subscribe. It helps me so much. I know I ask you guys every time, but this is something that I want to do on a weekly basis, and once I gain subscribers, it really will help me out to be able to do that weekly and put this time aside to do this. So let me know if you guys prefer seeing full tutorials or if you like more product reviews, and I can kind of pepper those in to everything that we do. So thank you so much, and I hope you keep watching to see this look and these products. Alright, my hair is pulled away from my face and I have everything in front of me. I'm going to go through an entire face of makeup, so we'll be seeing some products that are old favorites of mine. We'll also be seeing some things that I've only tried once or twice and some totally brand new things to me, so it'll be some good first impressions as well. I chose products that were on the more viral side, so I could either show dupes of some more expensive products that I love, or just some things that maybe you've seen online and have been interested to hear about and maybe want my opinions on. And then a couple of things I just chose because they were interesting to me and I haven't seen them before or haven't tried them. So I'm going to get everything ready and we will get started. Alright, I am going to start with the e.l.f. Power Grip Primer. I have the one with niacinamide in it, and it's clearly supposed to be a dupe for the Milk Makeup Hydro Grip Primer. I have both, and I would say for a third of the price, I would choose this one. I love the Milk one, but this one's almost identical with a little extra tackiness to it, which I feel like that's going to keep my makeup on even longer. Plus it gives an even smoother, glossy texture to the skin without it being oily. But you see that shine that it gives, and it gives that stickiness where the skin kind of sticks to your finger. That's just going to keep everything on super long. I have the e.l.f. Halo Glow Liquid Filter. Another clear dupe. e.l.f. is kind of famous for copying our higher end friends in the makeup world. This is a Flawless Filter by Charlotte Tilbury copy. I love Flawless Filter. I used to work for Charlotte when Flawless Filter came out, and I've always loved that product. Downside of the e.l.f. version though, it's beautiful and gives a little bit more coverage than the Charlotte Tilbury one. But the color range is not great. This is the lightest color, and you can see it's kind of orangey, so I don't usually put a ton down here. This is a multi-use product, so it can be used as a foundation. It can also be used as a primer, which is kind of how I'm using it today, to give some coverage in the areas that I like a little bit more, but also some extra glow. And it can also be used as a natural highlight after you do your foundation. So kind of fun multi-use product. I've seen people use the deeper shades to give a really beautiful glowy bronze, so you could also do that if you are more fair. And then if you have deeper skin too, they have beautiful shades for a little bit of a highlighter glow too. So you can see beautiful luminescence. It has a nice stick with the, Power Grip Primer underneath it, so I feel like you could totally just do this. I just wanted to be able to test a few different types of products, so I'm going to be layering another foundation on top. But hydrating, beautiful, again, multi-use product. I do highly recommend it. I also love the Charlotte Tilbury one, so whichever is in your budget and whichever colors match you the best, I would go with that one. This is a brand new product. I've only swatched it to make sure the color will work for me. So you've probably seen this package, but a little bit slimmer in the concealer. That's been popular forever. I found this that was interesting to me. It's the Maybelline Instant Age Rewind Perfector 4-in-1 Glow, and it seems to have, pretty negligible coverage, which I love for my own skin, and you just kind of crank the little thing there, and you could use it directly from the sponge like this. I'm going to crank some out and put it on the back of my hand because that's just how I prefer to do things, and use my Beautyblender, but you could totally go straight on with that. I just feel like it's not as sanitary that way, and I don't want to be adding bacteria back in. So I'm just going to use the butt of my Beautyblender to add this on. I have the shade 00, so it is the fairest shade, and I'm going to be honest, it's not that fair, so if you're any fairer than me, it's going to be hard to get away with this. But this gives a super natural skin tint finish, and that's kind of what it claims, that it's kind of like a primer, foundation, highlighter, concealer type thing all together. I'm just going to use it as almost like a glowing skin tint, because as you guys know, I love glowy skin. I'm going to make sure I really blend here, because as you may be able to tell, it is a little bit more color than I am. And you can probably see on my hand, it's definitely a little bit more tanned. I can get away with it a bit because it is so sheer, but I am giving you a heads up. That is one of the things at the drugstore you might notice. There's just less color options, especially for anyone on the higher or lower end of the color spectrum. So keep that in mind when you're deciding. You know, I have skin tints that I absolutely love that match me better. So, you know, if I'm going to be totally honest, does this look pretty? Yes. But if they don't have more colors for me to actually look into, it makes it a little bit more difficult. I have a couple under eye things. So this is the e.l.f. Putty Color Correcting Eye Brightener. I have the fairest shade, which is like a pink. This you could use on days that you don't want to do a full concealer, or if you just want to brighten up discoloration under here. And I've talked about this in other videos as well, but I get a lot of blue-green right up in here, and so this is going to help lift those shadows. And I'm just messily placing this. It's kind of a thin texture. It's creamy, but not a lot of product comes off on your hand. So you might have to dip back in a couple times, or you could use a brush if you prefer to pick more product up. But I want to do a nice layer of this, targeting wherever I have kind of that bluey-green vein color. And then once I'm happy with that, I'm going to use my Beautyblender to blend it all in. So far, I do feel like it's giving me a good natural brightness right in the inner and outer corners. And it's nice and thin, which I like too, because I don't want to put a huge thick layer of something and then a concealer over top, because that's just a recipe for your under eyes to crease and it to look kind of crepey and heavy. It feels pretty hydrating as well, which I like, and I feel like on days that I don't want to wear a full foundation or makeup, I could throw this on if I'm just looking a little bit tired, and it would be a nice addition. This is, and I've used this in a lot of videos already, but the Maybelline Fit Me in shade 10. I love this concealer. It's just super natural looking. It isn't super, super light, so it's not going to help with our, you know, foundation being too dark factor, but it's going to give a really beautiful coverage underneath the eye, and I can also use it around the face. So you might have seen I have a couple scars from some breakouts, and I'm just going to kind of dot this around there and then blend it with my Beautyblender. And I'm working with natural light here today, so I apologize if it keeps getting lighter and darker. I can feel it getting pretty dark outside. The sun keeps going behind a cloud, so apologies in advance. So that is my overall coverage, and I'm going to wait for our light to come back, and then we will do some of the fun color products. Okay, so we have some fun products in front of me. I have the e.l.f. Halo Glow, another Charlotte Tilbury copy. This is in the color light medium, and this is supposed to be like the Charlotte Tilbury contour wand, but I'm going to use this kind of as a bronze contour because it's a little bit too warm, in my opinion. And I have another true contour product to use, so this is going to be more so for some warmth to my face. Not that I need a ton now that my foundation is a little bit too tan. But I'm just going to use this kind of on the places that the sun would hit the face, and then buff it in with a sponge. As always, I have a mirror down here as well, so when I'm looking down, that's what's going on. So far, since this is a first impression for me, it's blending well. It's a nice thin texture, which is good if you are more of a beginner to maybe liquids or creams in the bronzer category of things, because it's not going to be this thick, goopy layer that you're worried about. And then I'm going to look up close and see how we feel. For a bronzer, I think the color is nice. It didn't seem to lift a ton of my coverage. This spot right here needs a little bit extra back on it, but that's just what's going to happen when you put a cream product over no powder. Sometimes the concealer will come off a bit, but not bad. I am going to bring a tiny bit of the foundation down my neck really quick, just so we're not distracted by how tan it is in comparison. Next, I have the e.l.f. Putty bronzer in the contour shade, which is a very kind of gray tone shade, which is traditionally what I look for contour. So the last one claims to be a contour, but again, it's really a bronzer. This one claims to be a bronzer and it's really a contour. So just keep that in mind and go by the color, not the name. And I'm going to use just a Morphe M536 brush, which is kind of like a round one, just to place it since it's in a pot and it's kind of hard to get to. And I'm using this, and it's a beautiful contour color because it really mimics the shadow in all the places that I want to add shadow to. The Putty formula has become really popular. They have a bronzer, they have a blush, and some other things too, a primer. And so I just chose this guy today. And I really like it. This is one I've had for a little while. As always, I'm going to use my Beautyblender because that's what I use for everything. But color-wise, I feel like this is a hard color to find at the drugstore, so I really applaud e.l.f. for doing this. It kind of reminds me of the Niacinamide balm that they make. It's kind of like a powdery but not too matte cream product. Subtle, but I really do like that one. So for me, that's a win. It's not a perfect dupe to anything, I just think it's a good product. And then for color, we have the new e.l.f. the Camo liquid blushes. I have the color Suave Mauve, and these are super pigmented, and I have tried this once and I really enjoyed it. So kind of a Rare Beauty dupe, which I have the Rare Beauty blush and love those as well. So I would go by color. Rare Beauty is not crazy expensive for being at a place like Sephora. And the e.l.f. ones, I believe, are around $9, $8 or $9. So really go by color. And if you want a great cream or liquid blush at the drugstore, this one's beautiful. There's not a ton of colors, but there's a few, and they have some deeper shades, which I love. But this color is just a classic, a little bit warmer toned mauve, but super easy to blend and not patchy at all. I know some people have done videos with the brighter colors and they're definitely pigmented, so start off really small. You do not have to go crazy with it. You can always add more on there, but I think that gives a really natural finish. It's not overly shiny, but it's not matte either, so a good, you know, glowy natural. Okay, so I've kind of just assessed the situation here, and I feel like it looks really pretty. I'm pretty impressed with the fact that these look high-end on the skin. The textures look like high-end textures. They're not getting super cakey anywhere. I usually have gathering, especially around my chin here because of retinol, but I wouldn't say it's gathering any more than any of my super high-end foundations. And other than color, I think it looks very, very nice. So again, my main thing would be work on the color range. Maybelline does better on their other formulas, but especially in the foundation, this being the lightest shade, it's just not, it's not okay. So, and I know that if they don't have a light enough shade, that means they definitely don't have dark enough shades. So I know that in their Fit Me range, they do a lot better, but this one, I think it could really benefit and might be more of a popular product if it had a better color range. But as far as texture, it looks high-end, and the other products from the skin from e.l.f. look beautiful as well. So far I'm pretty impressed with the actual formulation and the textures. So you can probably see that my brows look different. Off camera, I put on my next product just to kind of do a quick experiment. So what I used is the e.l.f. Brow Lift, which is a copy of the Anastasia Brow Freeze. I used it on this brow only first before putting color in, just to see if I prefer doing that and then the pen. And then on this eye, I'm going to do the pen first and then this, just to, again, see what is better. So far, when I put this on, I really enjoyed it. It didn't give any white cast going directly onto my brows. On this brow, I'm just going to brush through to remove any foundation that might be in the brow hairs. I have dyed my eyebrows sort of recently, so they are a little bit darker without any product in. And then I'm going to use the NYX Lift and Snatch Brow Tint Pen, and I have the color Ash Brown. And I love their brow pencils. They're like micro thin brow pencils. But I wanted to try something new, so I hope you can see this. Lightly pressing. And this is, if you can see the back of my hand, kind of a thin tint. So it's nice because it just gives the skin a little bit of color to fill in those gaps. So I'm just going to work through little brow hairs, and then every so often I'm taking my spoolie just to soften that so it doesn't look harsh or patchy. So I'm just going to keep doing that. And I prefer a fluffy natural brow look, so I want to be able to see each hair. I don't like it to be too blocky. That's just a personal preference for me. And I'm just kind of working my spoolie into here and just getting a small amount of that. It is kind of thicker, so you don't need a lot, and really getting that laminated brow effect, which I love. So this will give a beautiful lift to the face. And then you can even use the back of this or the back of a brush to press everything down, especially if you have super coarse eyebrows. And now we're going to let this dry, and we'll see how we like it. Okay, so I've now given the e.l.f. Brow Lift enough time to dry, and I'm going to go in, feels very, very set, with the pen. And you have to be a little bit more careful if you do the gel first, because you can't really go back and brush. I think this brow looks really beautiful, but it just takes more effort and stability. If you mess this one up, there's not much to do to fix it. So I would say this just gives you a little bit more flexibility if you do the gel afterwards. So that is my personal pick. For eyeshadow, I chose That's Taupe from Colourpop. They have this in the drugstore section at Ulta. Ignore the messiness of it, but it's just some really beautiful matte and shimmers in these taupe shades. So we're just going to play around with this. I just wanted to choose something that was really easy. This will kind of just show me the formula so I can give you my thoughts. I'm going to start with the color here called Boa and this fluffy brush. I do notice that these mattes really kick up a lot of extra, so you can kind of see there a lot of kind of dustiness. So you're really going to want to tap your brush off. But they are really soft when I swatched them. So this color I'm just going to use as a soft base over my eyelid because I'm not using a primer. That way the other colors have something to blend into. I'm going to use this right under my eye since I didn't use any powder today. So that's going to be my base. For a crease color, I'm going to go in with kind of a mix of Python and Pebble Beach on a smaller fluffy brush and just kind of dip into those two and just mix them evenly and tap on the back of my hand. This will be kind of a pinky cool tone crease color just to add some definition here. Again, they are very soft shadows, so keep that in mind. Which looks beautiful, but you do have to be careful for fallout. So make sure, tap your brush off, tap it on your hand, whatever works best. And I'm just doing a little messy version of this, and then I'm using my first brush just to blend the edges. And this is just giving me an idea of what my shape is going to be. And then same combination underneath the eye, just to give a little bit of definition down here. Now I want to go in with a pencil brush and use this color here, Rock Steady. So I'm just kind of going in with my mattes first to give definition, and then I'll add shimmers on top. So I'm just mapping out my outer corner with this, placing it kind of messy. The overall look is very kind of a creamy matte, so I do like that factor, but these are wildly messy. I want to show you again. Like, look how much has kicked up and I've barely touched into the palette. So I do want you to keep that in mind. You know, we're not going to get as sophisticated of a formula of eyeshadows at the drugstore, and I still feel like that's what's lacking at the drugstore. I had a hard time picking. I do have another palette on the way that won't make it, obviously, in time for this video, that has some pretty high reviews. It's from CoverGirl, their clean eyeshadow, and I got like a smoky shade, so if you guys are interested in seeing that, I can always do a video or a reel on that. But I'm just making sure to get a nice definition in this outer corner. You do have to dip it a few times, and then I'm going to go right underneath with whatever's left on my brush and attach that to the other outer corner there. So using the bottom here, and then attach to here, just to make sure that looks nice and seamless. Then I'm going to look at myself straight on, just to make sure my overall shape is where I want it. And I want a little bit more of an outer corner lift, and then I'm taking that first fluffy brush, and it's going to do our blending work. So they do seem to blend pretty easily. They're just different than textures that I've used in a lot of my shadows. So it's just kind of a learning curve for me. But if you like a more powdery matte, you would really like these. I'm going to look into using Slated right here on my pinky finger to do kind of like a inner third of the eye. The shimmers seem to be much more compacted in a good way, where they're not totally falling all over. And then I'm making sure to hit the inner corner of my eye here as well. And you could do anything with these. I'm just kind of playing around just to get an idea of these textures. I think that color's pretty. I'm not blown away by the consistency of it, but I think it's pretty. And then I'm going to take, let's do this one, which is called Constrictor. It's kind of like a greeny taupe. And I'm just going to use my finger again and kind of tapping that one off and placing that over top of that matte shade we did out here. And then we'll blend it. I find that these kind of shimmers, when they're loose, work better with a finger first, and then just blending. And then to blend those two shades together, the center shade called Snake Eyes, which is kind of a pinky taupe, just so I can try to use as many colors as possible, is going to be my soft blending shade. Again with my finger, and then we're just going to kind of go over the entire thing like this, just to make it super cohesive. Whatever's left on my brush, I'm bringing it underneath my eye, and then I'm assessing. I think I want a little bit more in my crease, so I'm going to use the Pebble Beach color, which is just the center one here, in my crease with that same fluffy brush. Starting deeper in the crease with my eyes open to see where I want it, and then closing and blending upwards. There's no great brow bone color in this, so I'm going to just kind of leave that blank. And see where we're at here. Okay, so I have curled my lashes off camera so that I can go into my eyeliner. I'm just going to use something on my tight line and my waterline in a kind of soft taupey color. This is the NYX Vivid Rich Under the Moonstone is the color. Just a retractable pencil. And so I'm going to kind of close my eye onto this just to get a soft amount of definition. I have these in a few colors and I really enjoyed them. You could totally do something like a black or a dark brown for this. I just wanted something to kind of continue the taupey shimmer. And then right up here, and excuse my eyes. I've said this before, but my eyes are red no matter what I do. They're just very sensitive. And that's just going to give a little extra definition right on the waterline. And I'm making sure to get it into the roots of the lashes here too. This is a really pretty, almost like a gold taupe hybrid. And I am going to use this a little bit on the top of my eye as well, because it's pretty. But aiming just at the roots of those lashes. Like that. Pretty. For mascara, I looked up what people were loving, and it looks like the Maybelline Lash Sensational has been quite a popular one. I got the color Brownish Black, And it's a comb brush, which is interesting. It has kind of short ones here to really bulk the lash up and longer ones to brush through and curl. So I'm going to try this for the first time. Kind of using the side of the brush. My lashes don't hold a curl very well, so that's always something that I'm looking to see. And I prefer some volume. If I had to choose volume over length personally, obviously I want some lengthening and I want it to look like a clean lash so I can see each lash, but each lash is volumized. Already, this mascara looks really nice. I chose Brownish Black just to get something different. Normally I put my bottom mascara on first, but I forgot today, so we're just going to do the opposite. And normally I'm a fiber brush kind of girl, but this is doing a really good job of combing everything through. I would say the formula is more on the moussey side, which I prefer. I don't like a particularly wet formula. So if you're someone with stubborn lashes that like to fall down, moussey formulas do a better job of holding a curl than those really wet ones, because the wet ones tend to weigh everything down. And then we're going to do another coat on the top. I'm going to try the short side here just to really build it at the roots here. And then kind of turn it to the side and comb through. So hopefully you can see the difference between the second coat and the first coat. Same thing, taking that kind of curved underneath side first, going right to the roots of the lashes and wiggling and then lifting up. And then turning it to the side here and brushing through. We'll come back to this and see how it looks, but I already see my lashes falling, so that is the bane of my existence, but here we are. Okay, so I'm going to go in for my lips now, so let me remove the leftover lip balm I had on. And I'm going to go with the NYX lip pencil, and I really like these, just the sharpened one in Mauve. This color is just like a little bit pinker version of my lips. This pencil is a little bit more stiff, not as like thick and creamy as some, but I like that because I have a little more control. So I can add a little bit of volume without it looking as obvious. So there. And then another NYX or NYX product. This is the Fat Oil Slick Click, and I have the color No Filter Needed. This is one of those kind of softer pencils that you click the end of and a little bit of product comes out. Just gives a really hydrated shine. Has a fruity smell. Very creamy though. Not as soft as some of those other ones, but it definitely wants to move when you press your lips together. And then just to try something else, I did also get the e.l.f. Their lip oil, which this color is called Honey Talks. It's a newer product from them. So I wanted you to see this as it is. And then I'm going to pat some of the excess shine and then try the lip oil. I'm going to go back in with that lip liner. This has a nice chunky doe foot applicator. I think it's supposed to be a copy of the DIOR one, so let's see. Pretty color. Very natural looking. I think any skin tone could wear this Honey Talks color. So lip oil is definitely much shinier than the stick. Kind of a light minty smell. I think I like the lip oil on myself better, but these are nice if you want not quite as much shine, but still some nourishment and a little bit more color. So I'll do a final roundup in a second and then pull my hair down and we'll see what's up. I broke everything down for final thoughts into a few categories. So I have my kind of old standards, my old favorites. I have some new gems, and then I have some things that I want to discover a little bit more about that I'm not quite 100% sure that I love. So starting with some old favorites, you guys have seen this, the Fit Me Concealer. I love it. I think it's the most natural concealer that I've tried from the drugstore. The e.l.f. Halo Glow Liquid Filter. Again, I wish there was more colors in this, but it is a beautiful texture and product. The Putty Bronzer for a good contour from the drugstore is amazing. And then the two NYX pencils. So the Mauve lip pencil, I have a bunch of these in kind of each bag just as a throw on, but they have more colors that are amazing too. And then the Vivid Rich, the Twist Up Mechanical Liners. This is a new color to me, but this formula is awesome. Good for waterline and good for a creamy above your eyelash line look. For my new gems, love this primer. I think this is going to be in my everyday routine coming up. Really impressed with this. I really love the Camo blush. I do want to get more colors of these. I think it blended super beautifully, and it did remind me of the Rare Beauty one. I like the brow lift a lot from e.l.f. This one worked really well. My brows haven't moved from my bangs touching them. The Beauty Wand as a bronzer, not as a contour. I really enjoyed that. Super easy to blend. I like this because I like a pen for my brows, but I just love NYX's brow products in general. So keep that in mind. Any brow products from them I haven't had any issues with. The new lip oil. I think this is pretty. I have this one on right now. It feels really nourishing, but it's not sticky. My only question, and kind of why I saved it for last, is that I don't know how long it's going to last on the lips. So I think I'll throw this in a purse, see how it goes. I don't expect it to be particularly long lasting, but I think it's a good nourishing, don't even need to look in the mirror, throw on. And then some things I want to do more experimentation with. I loved this, but I just want to see it alone for a full day, is the Putty Corrector, just to give that kind of brightness and see how it works by itself, but underneath it worked totally fine. The 4-in-1 Glow Maybelline Perfector. Again, it's a color thing for me. I love the formula. It's just a little too dark for me this time of the year, so I'm going to have to revisit this during the summertime. The That's Taupe eyeshadow palette. Beautiful colors. I just have so many formulas of eyeshadows that I probably would prefer grabbing, but I did like how the overall look turned out. And I think if you're someone who's newer to eyeshadow and makeup, you would really enjoy this. The Fat Oil Quick Stick. I enjoyed the color. It was a little bit pink for my own personal taste, but I think it was pretty. It wasn't as shiny as I expected, so I want to try this for a full day and see how I felt, if it kept my hydration and gives me kind of more of a satin shine, and see how long that lasts. And then the Lash Sensational. Again, my lashes started falling down pretty quickly, so if you're someone who has super curly lashes and doesn't have that issue, I think this looks beautiful, but my lashes have already started to fall, so I'm going to have to try this once the formula has dried out a bit. I never love mascara the second it comes out of the tube here. So overall, I don't hate anything, and I would use all of these products again, and I'm excited to dive deeper a little bit into some of those that I don't have as much experience with, to see what my final thoughts are on those. But overall, looking at it, I think it's pretty. I think it's a great everyday look, and I'm very impressed with these drugstore products. You know, the entire face was the price of a couple higher end products. So if you are on a budget, or even if you're not, check the drugstore and see if there's anything that interests you. It's kind of one of those places that you need to watch reviews or play around yourself, but these are things that I can say I enjoyed and would continue to use. So thank you so much for watching. If you've gotten this far, you're the best. I hope you go down and either like this video and subscribe. You can always leave me a comment of anything that you want to see a more in-depth review for, or if there's any products you're dying to find out about. So thank you so much for joining me. I had so much fun today. Bye.